What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. Meenu is back today, and our topic of choice was motivation versus discipline. So we kind of talk about the differences between the two and how obviously they can be similar and intertwined. But if you have been lacking motivation in certain areas or maybe lacking discipline, this is definitely the episode for you.
Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode in this amazing collab with Babbles Nonsense and Transient into Wellness. Today, we're going to talk about discipline or motivation. What's going to win? What should you actually depend on? And what will actually work for you in the long term, right?
Right. And so before we start, I just want to give like the Webster Dictionary version of both or the definition just so that everyone's on the same page on what we're talking about. Like everyone should know, or not should know, but should, could, would know discipline versus motivation. So discipline is the ability to control oneself and to keep working towards a goal even when it's difficult. It can also refer to the act of enforcing rules or orders to gain control. And then motivation is a complex internal state that drives people and animals to act in a way that achieves their goals. It's a fundamental part of how people interact with the world and each other.
That's amazing. That's very helpful. That's very helpful. Thanks for
Yeah,
doing that.
you're welcome.
So, to just give you guys a little bit of like a background, like obviously I was around my mom a lot and she raised me. My parents both raised me, but my mom is like the epitome of a disciplinarian. She would wake up, she would do things in a certain order, and she is very, very intelligent. She is efficient, and I've always admired that so much about her, right? So it's like, I I always struggled to be disciplined. From the beginning, from the time I was young, I struggled to be disciplined because I thought I have to feel some kind of way to do certain things. I have to feel like I want to work out. I have to feel like I want to eat this food. I have to feel like this. And for a long time, I lived that. But you want to know what happened? It kept me fucking stuck.
Yep.
It kept me miserable. It kept me, I don't want to use the fat, I don't want to say fat, but it did. Like I had body issues. I had issues with so many things because I thought I have to feel something to do something.
But it's funny that you say that because coming off last week's episode where we talked about control, right? So, like going back to these definitions that I just read,
Hmm.
discipline talks about how we're trying to gain control.
Hmm.
Motivation talks about feelings. Like, so
Hmm.
what you said that you thought you had to feel something. So you were waiting for motivation to come before
Yes,
you could do it. Where
exactly.
I'm the opposite. So I grew up where I didn't grow up with a disciplinarian and I didn't grow up with like seeing that ritualistic type stuff with my
Hmm.
parents. So I created discipline within myself because I learned at an early age I had to gain control of situations to feel comfortable and to feel safe.
Mm. Mm.
So
That's
I
so
then so then
interesting.
I started doing things within my own
Mm.
routine, which was
Mm.
that's how I built discipline and I didn't ever feel anything when I did it.
That is so interesting. I feel like when you have controlled environments, not when I say controlled, let's reframe it and say structured environments, because I grew up in a very structured, good household, right? So I think I had the room not to be disciplined. I had so much, safety net with my parents. I could lean on them. I could mess things up. I didn't have to be consistent and it would be okay. But then that broke me in adulthood when I left my house and I continued to live that way. I was not set up for that life, you guys. I left home when I was 17 and a half to a country to live by myself with a few hostel roommates. It was not cool. It was not fun. And then I became an entrepreneur to top off the cherry on the icing, or it's like, entrepreneurship journey is like it's never the same every month. It's like a huge roller coaster. And the one thing you always have to rely on is being disciplined and how you show up, what you do, right? And so I struggled a lot in my entrepreneurial journey in the beginning phases because I just wasn't disciplined. I was just waiting for the feeling. I was waiting to feel like I want to post on social media today. I was waiting to feel like I want to see my client today. I was waiting to send that email. So I feel like that really, if I'm being very vulnerable, stalled my success as an entrepreneur. And it took a very lots of rude awakenings to be like, is motivation really serving me? Is relying on feeling actually keeping me successful? No.
And it's funny that you say that because I did try to do like a nutrition coaching thing for a little bit. And I was waiting for that feeling to be like, I should feel like I want to do this. I should feel, and I didn't have the discipline to sit down. Well, I did. I sat down and did a post every day and stuff like that. There was some discipline there, but there
Mhm.
was no motivating factor. So I truly think that you can't have, well, that's not, you can have one without the other, but I think if you have both, it's going to make you the most successful.
That's exactly what happened with my business because it's like it was so inspired. I was so inspired. I was like, this is my soul-based mission, this is like my baby. So there was inherent motivation, which was already there. It's I think it's always going to be there. I think that's not going to go away, but the discipline was not there. So even though I had that motivation, the discipline was not there. So when my business really started to take off is when I started actually combining both.
Yep.
Found my sweet spot. That doesn't mean, oh, I was going at it every day, I was doing this aggressively. No, I found my sweet spot.
Yeah.
It means showing up these times of the days and this time of the week and doing this, serving this many clients in a day. That is my thing. That's where you have to like trust your rhythm. Don't do it just because XYZ person is like doing it in a certain way. So that's also, you have to give energetic permission to ask, what is a standard of discipline that is sustainable for me to follow?
Right. And like we just both talked about, we both had very different childhoods. So it definitely stems from, which, I mean, come on, let's be real. Everything stems from childhood trauma.
Yes,
Like, I know
yes.
people are tired of like, oh, no, it does. Yes, it does. Like, I mean, we learn who we are, we learn things from other people. Now, do we have to stay stuck in it? No, we can still grow as human beings after we realize it and move on. But when it comes to like discipline, that's where when I look back and say, why do I have this type of discipline that I do when it comes to like sitting down, doing stuff, going to the gym, whatever, whether it be I have no motivation to do it, but I still go and do it, that's discipline, right? And it
Yes, and
came,
I have to interrupt you, Jonna. Like, I
yeah.
want to give you a shout out because I really, guys, like I admire that about her so hard. I admire people that are disciplined because they are combating a negative voice in their head, which says, let's just stay on the couch. Let's just eat this packet of chips. Let's just watch TV. They are battling because they're battling. It's not everybody doesn't want to wake up and go to the fucking gym. Like they don't want to do that, but they do it because they're hardwired to be disciplined. So huge shout out to anybody that's listening. If you're disciplined, mad respect, Jonna, mad respect for you. On that
Thank
note, go
you.
on. Yes.
Well, I was just saying it like it came from childhood, but when it comes to working out and exercise and like the discipline and whatnot, like I'm definitely better, but like it's actually kind of a sad story
Mhm.
because I was not saying that I was ever like overly weight, like overweight, like crazy, but I was like gaining weight more so than my peers in high school. And so
Mhm.
the discipline started in high school when it came to like, I've got to start moving my body. I have to start, eating right because I'm gaining weight. Little did I know I was having thyroid problems, which was a whole nother thing like we could talk about on a different podcast. But I couldn't control the thyroid aspect of it and the metabolism of it, but what I could control was moving my body and trying to stay as healthy as I was. So that control turned into discipline, which, we listen to the definition, that's where it kind of comes from. So it's more of a control thing. That's the only thing I can control because I can't control my thyroid. I can't control my metabolism when it comes to my health and what it's doing, right? But I can control going to the gym. I can control nutrition protocols. I can control those things. So
Mhm.
it's not, and so that's where it's not a motivation thing like, oh, I want to feel motivated. It's more of like I have to get up and do this for my health.
Yes, so obviously you've prioritized it, right? Because there are
Yeah.
so many people that have health issues that just don't do anything. Like there are people that have thyroid issues, there are people that have metabolic disorders, there are people that they have so many things, but they don't do it. So I
Well,
think I think also that's where values come in, right? Like what do you really value? Like
What
You know?
does, but it also it stems from a little bit of self-esteem issues, which that's getting better. But like also like growing up in a society in the 90s where everyone was 100 pounds and I was gaining all this weight and I was more curvy or I had, boobs and a butt, like, and trying
Right.
to fit into societal norms. So the discipline did turn into like disordered eating where it became like eat less, move more, which
Mhm.
thankfully moving out of that, that's why I tried to do like coaching and like learn everything I could about nutrition because I was like, that's not sustainable and that's not something I can live with for the rest of my life. Now, do I still have that voice in my head that says, you're eating out too much, you're going out with friends too much? Absolutely,
Mhm.
100%. I don't think that's ever going to go away, but that still drives
Right.
my discipline.
Right, right, right. So your driver, you're just saying that your primary driver for discipline actually comes from a trauma response. It comes from experiences. It comes from facing certain things, right?
Yeah.
And that is very true, you guys. Like sometimes that's what it takes. For me, it came from my business not moving in the first 2 years, like not giving me anything that I wanted. And I'm just relying on motivation. And that was very painful. I was also going through a divorce at that time. It was very painful. It was almost like do or die.
Yeah.
You do this or die. I still remember this conversation I had with my father in 2020, where I was talking about my business and I was like, Dad, like it's crickets. And my dad was like, why don't you just come back? you
Yeah.
know, why don't you just move back to India and, you can do a lot of things here. You can be very self-sufficient here. You have our support and things like that. And I remember crying and I said, can you give me 2 years? Because I was at rock bottom, right? I said, I don't have anything to lose. I said, can you give me 2 years so that I at least feel in my core and my soul that I've tried this? And then obviously after that, discipline was non-negotiable for me. Showing up was non-negotiable for me because the pain was that much.
Yeah. And we talk about like motivation. Like I've been motivated. Like I was motivated this past weekend to get my garage cleaned out. I was very motivated to do that. Like, and I'm just speaking like kind of crazy. Like, but
Yes,
when I think about motivation versus discipline, motivation is very fleeting, it's very
that's exactly right.
short-lived.
Yep.
And discipline doesn't really, for me, my discipline is built within. Like it's just there. And well, like when people like comment on it or something, I'm like, I don't even know how to tell someone to become disciplined because it's just there. It's
Mm-hmm.
inherent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely not inherent for me. And I have had to learn it through multiple hard ways. I was also like not to talk negatively about somebody, but I was also working with a coach at one point. And she is very anti-discipline, right? She was like, you have to feel this way. You have to feel. You should never do anything until you feel. And I tried. I like danced. I did that dance for like a few months and I absolutely felt shitty. It didn't work for me. Again, I'm not shaming anyone. If that works for you, you do you if you're listening to this.
Do you,
But
boo boo?
yeah, but it did not work for me. It did not give me the result. It did not give me the success. It did not give me the life that I wanted to create.
Yeah.
Ultimately, discipline won by God. I don't even know how many points.
And like like as I'm sitting here thinking, like, and I know this sounds kind of sad and maybe a little pathetic, but like I'm sitting here thinking, like, when was the last time I was motivated other than to clean the garage? I don't know.
Hmm.
Like I'm trying to think like true motivation. Well, when I was trying to leave my job, I guess last, like I was really motivated to get out of that job. But
Yes.
again, like things were like when I think about all the times that I was motivated, it was very short-lived.
Yes.
It wasn't sustainable. Like so when we
And that's
think
a
like
great example. That's such a great example. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we like when people are like, "Oh my gosh, I just really wish I could find the motivation to go to the gym like you do." I almost, now that we're having this conversation, maybe I should turn around and go, "I don't have motivation to go to the gym. It's kind of
Yes.
just inherent. It's more just like it's a daily thing. If I don't go, I feel guilt. It's I don't know how that I don't know how to translate that, honestly."
Right, right, right. No, absolutely. I 1000% feel you. The way I reframe it for myself, like if I'm promising something to myself, right? If I'm saying, I'm Meenu, I'm gonna do this like 3 times a week, and I'm gonna like let's just say swimming because that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna swim for 3 times a week because it really helps my joints. I love how I feel in the water. It's giving me peace. I just want to do it. I love to do it. It's beneficial in so many ways, whatever. And then I don't do it the one option that I have is to go into a guilt spiral and be like, oh, you fucked up, you're lazy, you didn't do it, yada, yada, yada. But the other way I found, which is helpful to reframe it, is okay, we didn't do it today. How do we rectify this for tomorrow?
Yeah.
What do we, because when you beat yourself up, the reason I'm talking about this is discipline motivation, because I'm sure a lot of people are doing this, which is when you beat yourself up, nothing comes out of that either.
You're not motivating yourself by beating yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even to piggyback off that, like I was actually talking to my nutrition and fitness coach today. Like our check-ins are on Tuesdays. So I was talking to her today and I was telling her, like, because I hadn't logged some food or something. And she was like, hey, is everything going okay? Because, like, you typically do everything. I was like, I've just been a little bit more stressed the past 2 weeks. I was like, I have a lot of, house stuff going on. So I decided to loosen the reins a little bit. So I've been like loosely tracking food. I've been drinking a little bit more with friends, like just going out more with friends and just having a good time. I was like, I'm still getting my workouts in. I'm still meeting my protein goals. I'm still doing those things. I was like, but I
Mhm.
think I'm just going to pull back the reins just for a couple weeks. And she literally replied and said, you know what? I'm very happy to hear you say that. She was like, you're not a client I worry about. She was like, and it's really good to let go of the reins sometimes.
Mhm.
So like just to hearing that from a coach, I was just like, oh, okay, because I was over here beating myself up, like, man, I've really
Mhm.
been kind of lax the past couple of weeks.
Yes, I have that guilt too, especially when I'm relaxing from work. I
Yeah.
definitely have that. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I was relaxing all of October and now it's like a fire has been lit up. It's like, yep, let's go.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, kind of when you give yourself that time, that's when the motivation, I think, kind of creeps back in because, like, I'm then kind of like, oh, I'm ready to get back at it, or I'll take like weeks off, like not weeks, but like maybe 1 to 2 weeks off from the gym just to give my body like some relaxing time. And if you would have talked to me a couple of years ago, this would have never happened. Like, I would have been like, no, I have to go. Da, 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 da. But now, like knowing what I know now about like health and stuff like that, it's good to give your body like breaks and relaxation and stuff like that. But like I could buy like a new pair of shoes or a new gym clothes and that will literally light a fire under me and that will give me the motivation to go, I'm ready to get back. Or
Right. So,
just taking that 1 to 2 weeks off the gym and just going for walks. Like once I've like hit that time, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to go lift them weights again.
right, right, right. So do you feel like each person has like their sweet spot or the different ways and how if somebody wants to get motivated and if that's why they're listening to this podcast saying I want to get motivated, would you like ask them to like explore different things to see which really lights a fire for them?
I would. Like I think that motivation truly comes like I think it's inspiration. I think that motivation because it's feeling, I think that you have to feel inspired to do something. And the only like if you're forcing yourself to do something you don't like, that is not motivation. That is
Mm-hmm.
not discipline. Like if you love walking every day, but someone's telling you that's not going to get you to your goals, but that is what you love to do, walk because
Yeah.
motivation will come from that.
Right. And also, when you're walking, at least be disciplined in that. You
Yeah,
know what
like
I
your
mean?
discipline is
Yeah,
that you're walking, but
exactly.
when you do something that you love and you're disciplined in that action, I think that motivation comes and goes through that action.
It really does. You nailed it so well because the way that I was operating life before is I'm going to wait for the feeling and then I'm going to do the thing. But what I realized is while I
Do the
was
thing,
doing the thing, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
feeling will
while
come.
the feeling came and went. While I was doing the thing, the feeling came and went. While I was doing the thing, the feeling came and left. So for me, I was like, oh, at least, well, I don't feel bad that I didn't do it. I've still been doing it. I've still been showing up. The feeling is very fleeting. So all I want to say, guys, is that motivation is very fleeting. It's very inconsistent and you can't rely on it. I understand you want to feel it, but it's going to go away really soon. It's probably going to go away in a few hours or a few days. You're not going to feel the same way. So I would just say find a rhythm that really works for you, whether that's fitness, whether that's meditation, whether that's spiritual practices, whether that's prayer, whatever it is you're struggling right now. I mean, the new year is going to be there in like 2 months, and let's not even go there. Talk about, like New Year resolutions, because that's all like dopamine stuff,
Motivation.
all motivation stuff, which why do you think so many people join the gym and then they just don't go after 25 days? Like nobody, like they just drop
Mm-hmm.
you know and because why? Because it's not consistent. It feels really good though when somebody says, oh, let's go, let's join the gym. It feels amazing, but that's why you don't trust feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and that's something that was hard for me because I thought I was operating off motivation for all these years, and then I realized like once I could let go of control, and then it was still there. I was like, oh, actually, that's discipline because it's still there. I didn't lose it. I still want to go. I just needed a break.
Right. Right, right. The way I feel is like when I'm disciplined and I do it, even though I don't get the feeling, I feel like I've rebuilt some self-trust.
Yeah.
So that I feel like that's so crucial for everybody, especially people that have low self-worth. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves to achieve certain goals. I think you have to like start really small. And I think discipline is the road for recovery for you guys. Like, it can be small actions that you take where you're saying if you're doing the things that you say to yourself that you're going to do, it's going to add points there.
Well, it's
It's
because you're
going
showing up for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen tomorrow is even when shit hits the fan, you're going to know that you have your back. You're going to know that you're showing up for yourself. You're going to know that you're not going anywhere. So I think it kind of like sets foundation for so many things. Like when I say discipline has like saved me in so many ways, it really has because for me, like I didn't have that structure growing up. Like my mom was like the disciplinarian, but I had too much like loose rope with my dad. I was spoiled by my dad. My dad would literally be like, "You don't want to do it? Don't worry about it. You don't have to do it." I was literally, I was spoiled. So obviously, I love him dearly. I will always love him because I'm always a daddy's girl. But at the end of the day, I think my mom wins.
No, yeah. So like at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, are you disciplined or are you motivated? And
1000%.
there's nothing wrong with either. I think it's finding a balance between the two.
Yes, finding a balance between the two. And I think I really want to like drill this down is find your rhythm. Just because your friend is going to the gym every day doesn't mean you need to go to the gym every day. Maybe you need to go 3 times a week. Just because somebody is meditating twice a day doesn't mean you got to. Maybe you meditate 4 times a week and that works for you, but do it. Keep doing it. Whatever rhythm you set for yourself, get comfortable in that rhythm and repeat it so it's effective and efficient.
But let's also just say, like, I'm disciplined in the gym and nutrition, but I'm not disciplined and motivated in meditating. I
Mhm.
want to be, but I'm not. But and that's kind of where it is kind of sporadically throughout my life. Like I'm disciplined in certain areas and then others I'm not.
Right,
It's a
right.
balance.
It's always a balance. You can't be disciplined in everything. You also can't wait around for motivation to kickstart your life, to kickstart your habits, you can't, don't do that. I did that. It really cost me. Don't wait for stuff. Don't wait for the feeling. If you have a plan, if you have some inspiration behind the plan, stop waiting for the feeling. You already have the inspiration. You already have the plan. You don't have to wait for New Year. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that to yourself that everybody else is
Start
doing to them.
tomorrow.
Start tomorrow. Start next week. We're all here. You're not going anywhere. Gym ain't going anywhere. Yoga studios ain't going nowhere, like.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. No,
Yes,
I
so that
love this. I love this short little topic. I loved it.
yes, and I think it's like perfect timing. People have 2 months, for New Year's.
And
So
holidays are coming up.
days are coming. So guys, like don't put anything off. Like don't wait for, oh, let Thanksgiving get over and then I'm going to start eating healthy. No, eat healthy, make room for it. It's okay. Like start today, start next week. And then Thanksgiving comes, okay, you try your best, do your best to have healthy options. If not, don't beat yourself up, start again the next day. Don't my whole point is don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for validation from society. Don't wait for this crap bullshit resolution and all this. And don't most certainly wait for the feeling. Like
That is on that. And that is
that
on that.
yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this. I think this was much needed for my soul and for everybody else. So, yay. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
All right, guys. Until next time. Bye.
Till next time. Bye bye.